we? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Deadline stream. It is our first blank game week of the season. Thank you all very much for joining. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Nice to see so many of you in. I hope you're all doing well. 2 hours to go, just under 2 hours. Apologies, I'm back to being late again. I was making my cup of tea. I hadn't boiled the kettle in advance. I was getting my juice. I was getting my cup of tea, which is very over full, but we are here. We are here, and I apologize. That was quite a high. How are we? That was an eventful start, but always blaming the tea because it's not the tea's fault. It is my fault for not making my cup of tea early on enough. Anyway, enough chat about that. Let's get in and say hello to some of you. Hello to you all. Thank you all very much for joining. Let's crack on and answer some of your questions. But before we do, let's say hello to as many of you in the chat as we can very quickly. Hello to Fiona. Hello to Mo Trophy FPL. Hello to Varon. Hello to Paul Baker. Hello to Wade. Leonardo. Hello to Varon. Hello to Adrian. Hello to Regium. Ian is in. Hello to... yeah, those are all the members and moderators in. Hello to you all. Thank you all, especially for your support and on the channel. And to everyone else, we have got Ali. Hello to the Pixel Pirate, Jacob, Clover, Joel, Lukey, Simon, Kamo, Mick, Duncan, Callum, Chris, Andy, FPL Madrid, welcome, Julius, Mr. Was Up, Mr. Big, Pub, Hokin, Azaro, apologies, Aryan, Jack, Simon, Haha, FPL Thomas, Jay, FPL Doctor, and Ruben, Antonio, Scotty, John, FPL Ulster, Harry, Alex, and Goldstones. Hello to you all, and to everyone else, welcome in to the stream. Just to answer the questions that are already been asked in the chat, why have I got Thiago, Ekatike, Brian and Burmo and Dubravka on my bench? That is because I have David Raya, I have Gabriel, I have Richards, and I have Erling Haaland all in my starting 11. So they're just going to get auto subbed in. To be fair, I don't want to answer questions on it for the next hour. I am going to bench the players with a fixture for the players without a fixture. It's just what I'm going to do. But just to save myself from the questions, it doesn't make any difference before everyone asks. It doesn't do anything before everyone asks. But yes, this is my lineup for the week. I've got 4 free transfers available. And I think I'm going to roll. I think the big thing for me was around Tarkowski. And the update on the press conference today is that he wants him in and around the squad. And then the Everton sort of in the know account said he apparently has returned to training. So positive updates on that. So I think Tarkowski is going to play. So I don't think it's worth a transfer. Dubravka, Van Dijk, Anderson and Burmo, Bruno, Anderson, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall, Ekatike and Thiago. Yeah, I know people will say, and I could improve my squad. Like someone's already saying in the chat, why am I not selling Haaland this week? Because if I sell Haaland, I've got to bench someone. If I sell Haaland, I've got to bench someone. If I didn't have a full front 8, I would very much be considering selling Haaland this week, and I would have considered doing it last week as well, because part of the reason not to sell Haaland last week to do the Mo Salah switch was that I didn't need another attacker this week. I didn't need to sell Haaland because I can keep him and carry him to the other side, and it is something that's possible for me that will give me extra flexibility the other side with all the information of doubles and blanks going into game week 32 with 5 free transfers, a wild card in hand and a free hit. Do I think Tarkowski will definitely start? No. You know, is there a benefit to doing Richards to someone else in order to have some sort of bench cover in case someone misses out? Yes, like I'm not certain Tarkowski's definitely going to start, but I'm just not sure it's worthwhile to make that transfer. I think there's enough in that Tarkowski update that means I'll probably just roll my transfer. Why do I want Tarkowski to start when he's playing your team? Unfortunately, from an FPL point of view, you've got to take the bias out of it, and it's about planning, it's about the use of transfers, and it's about potential for points. Tarkowski could easily start, concede twice, get DEFCON, and get 3 points, which is probably enough in a blank game week. Would I rather have a Malik Chaël in my team this week? Absolutely. But is it better for me to have the flexibility? I think so. Free hit team, if you need a free hit or a wildcard draft, it is in my complete guide video from this morning. So go and check out that if you need a wildcard or a free hit draft. I'd be doing my best to not play either of those chips this week. I'd rather you take a -8 than play the wildcard or the free hit. I think it is much, much more valuable to save both of those chips for 32 to 35. And yeah, I think saving those chips is much better. And yeah, plan on rolling. Someone in the chat's asked, is there a chance Mbeumo doesn't start? I think it's a real possibility. All the predicted lineups seem to have Mbeumo in with Ahmad on the bench, but I don't think it's impossible that we see Mbeumo drop out. I will be keeping an eye on anything we see on Twitter, just like we do going into every deadline up, but I'll be particularly looking out for anything related to Bryan Mbeumo because I do think he is a risk going into this game. If I was to sell him, Dominic Szoboszlai or Anthony Gordon would be the top replacements in his position if I was looking to sell him. Why not Richards to Chaël as a safety net? I only have 0.1 million in the bank, so I don't have the ability to do that transfer. So unfortunately I can't. And again, is that transfer worth it? I'm just not certain. There are going to be more aggressive, better transfers to make than buying that this week for potentially 1 week, in my opinion. Now, if Tarkowski doesn't feature, I 100% should have made a transfer because I've got 4 available. And there is part of me that thinks with 4 transfers available, the safety net to have a first bench cover is just worthwhile. And so I could do Richards to a second Fulham defender, right? And I'd bench Tarkowski. And in that situation, I've then got bench cover if anyone else was to miss out. And is that worth a transfer? Maybe, but I'm also not certain that that's the best move for my team further down the line. I just think flexibility for me is so key. And I've got it sort of ingrained in my mind that I just want to get to 32 with 5 free transfers and a wildcard. And that's part of, I feel like that's clouding my judgment a little bit with my decision making this week. Because I could definitely make my team better this week. But someone in the chat earlier said that they're switching off because I'm rolling and that's boring. But like, what can I do to massively improve my team? Isn't an unnecessary risk to roll when you don't actually know if Tarkowski will play. You have 4 free transfers and no bench cover. That is it. I could make it better, but it would be Richards out, I think, not Tarkowski. Because if I go with one of my chip strategies, Tarkowski is really helpful in the blank in 34 where he's got West Ham away that week. So I don't think I'm going to buy Malik Chaël. I'm not going to buy Malik Chaël. If you want the reasoning for why I'm not going to buy Chaël based on my chip strategy, please go and watch my team selection video from Thursday as it details why I don't think Malik Chaël fits my chip strategy well enough as much as he might be the best defender to buy this week. So if I'm not buying Chaël and I'm not buying I've already got a Fulham defender. Like when you look at the projections from Rob T, now he actually did update them just now. So I can get the updated ones. Here we go. So this is what the updated projections say. Let me zoom in and make that bigger. This is what the updated projections say. It boosted Fulham. Fulham have gone up. They went plus 0.11 as Spurs also went up. So that game now favours Spurs more than it did, which I think is probably fair, particularly with Forest going to extra time. But it did boost Fulham, which means Fulham have got a bit of a gap over Manchester United now. So I do think Wilson is a great captaincy option. I really have considered it going against Bruno. Just the away fixture. If Bruno was at home, I wouldn't be considering it at all. So, yeah, I don't know. Let me do a captaincy poll. Game week 31, because I do like. So what I said, I was talking to someone about this today. I said, let me do the poll because I can't multitask. Bruno, Wilson, and then we just put other. So I was having this conversation with someone today. Is if I had to tell you out of Wilson and Bruno, one of them got an 8-pointer and one of them got a 2-pointer. I think the majority of you would say that Bruno would get the 8-pointer and Wilson would get the 2-pointer. But if I told you that one of them got a 15-pointer, you would say it was Wilson. Wilson is that big swing player this week, where I do think we're going to get that Mr. Consistent from Bruno. Yeah, as Zinksy in the chat is saying, I think Bruno is just too consistent, which is probably right, which is why I don't massively want to take it off him. But if you don't go Wilson and let's say Bruno blanks tonight in the Monday night game, then you'll be looking at it going into the weekend with Wilson cap at home to Burnley with a Bruno blank, and you'll be feeling so good about it. But of course, you could be going into it after Bruno's done well, and there is the other side to it, right? But I do think that Wilson is a contender. I think Wilson is above Gordon in my mind. I think Wilson is the only one I'd really consider going against Bruno with. But yeah, that's where I'm looking. Fulham at home to Burnley would be where I'd go if I was looking for some nice punts this week. Ross's foot, I think he did it playing football. I was with him on the FPL show this morning, and he is massively struggling to walk at the moment. Poor guy, it did look very painful. Hopefully he can rest and recover over the next few days because it looked rough, and if not, he needs to go and get it checked out, I think. What team am I picking to win the guarantee this week? We will talk about that competition later on in this video. 5 free transfers means you could bench boost 33, free at 34, wildcard 35. Massive differential for me. I just think the ability to get to a bench boost 33, to have the possibility of being in 32 with 5 free transfers and not having to wildcard when everyone else with 1 free transfer has to play their wildcard is just so valuable. Is so valuable. And let me show you my team as well. Let me get it up. We're going to use FPL.team. We've used Plan FPL most of the season, but when we get to this point in the season and they have the projections for the doubles from the fantastic FPL.team in combination with Planet FPL, one of the best podcasts there is out there. So if I roll, this is my team for next week. With 5 frees. I'll have Anderson at home to Villa. I'll have Bruno and Mbeumo at home to Leeds. I'll have Ekitike and Thiago at home to Everton, at home to Fulham. I'll be Haaland away at Chelsea. I'll have Dewsbury Hall away at Brentford. I'll have Richards, Gabriel, Van Dijk and Raya with 5 frees. I just don't need to wildcard that team. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. So this will be my team for 32 with 5 free transfers. Like, I just don't need to wildcard that team. Now, I could wildcard it if it helps set up the bench boost in 33, depending on how it falls. Again, this has the Planet FPL projection, so if you scroll down and click Set Planet FPL Projections, it will move the fixtures to based on where they're predicted. I actually don't think this will be how it falls. And you can change it yourself, right? I think City Palace will go into 33. and City Burnley will stay in the midweek of 34. If not, that will go after, but I think it will look like this personally. Now, that might be good enough to bench boost for me, and I might end up wildcard 32 anyway, but just 5 free transfers. Like, there are some really, really good punts later on in the season for players who don't necessarily have loads of good fixtures around that. Like, for example, if you look at Chelsea, Forest at home, but then being able to sell them for some of those harder games later on, being able to go into some Aston Villa for maybe Spurs at home, Burnley away before selling them for Liverpool City is also something I like. We might get a double later on in 36, or having the additional transfers there is beneficial to me. It's just what percentage chance is it about Tarkowski playing? But like, I think everyone would agree that this team doesn't need a wild card. Like, I could sell Richards to a defender that I like for the long term. Like, I love West Ham with Wolves away, free hit, Everton, Wolves at home. So I could do like Richards to Diouf, for example, or Mavropanos. And I could do, with 0.5 in the bank, I could go like any of my midfielders to someone else I like. Or I could do Haaland to Bowen, right? Haaland to Bowen next week. And I might end up selling Haaland next week. So those of you asking in the chat about it, yeah, I might end up selling Haaland anyway. And that would allow me to do even something like Dewsbury Hall or Anderson all the way up to, again, that would leave me, how do I know how much money I've got? 7.3. So I'd have, yeah, like basically money for anyone. So I could, again, just sell him to any midfielder I liked. Like, I could go from him up to, I mean, if Salah's back, I'm a bit short of that, but I could even go to Salah. We respect your plan to skip Newcastle players for your strategy, but they could score big this week. Absolutely. My big rank threats this week will be not Brian and Burma, will be João Pedro and Newcastle, and the Bournemouth defence effectively will be the 3 things. I've honestly moved up about 1.8 million places since following you on YouTube. You moved away from a dinosaur who plays FPL and to you, and I've jumped up the table. Eddie, I appreciate the kind words about me helping you jump up the ranks. I'm sure there's people who will say I've done the opposite, but I will do my best to help as much as possible. And the big thing I always think about content is whether the players that I recommend to you are exactly the ones that work out for you or not is one thing, but just staying engaged and having the sort of information about future planning and stuff like that is such a big impact that you will get hopefully boosts towards the end of the season. If you just plan ahead enough. Apologies, I haven't done any super chats, so let me rattle through and answer some of those. Would I do Rise to Wilson or Szoboszlai? I would definitely go Wilson. 1 free transfer. You've got, does getting in Wilson for any one of the below make sense or roll? Bruno, Tav, Dango, Palmer, Rogers could play 11 regardless. Then I wouldn't. Like, it would be Tav probably for me if you're looking to sell one. If you really are worried about not having Wilson, then it would be Tav there. Frankfurt, got 11 players, keep Rise or sell to Wilson Gordon. I probably would just roll, but I can understand that not having Wilson is quite a scary prospect this week. So I don't mind Rise to Wilson if it makes your team better. But I would probably roll, bench one of Tavernier and Dye or João Pedro. I probably would bench Tavernier. Gordon, Szoboszlai worth a -4 to get 11 players out for who? Yeah, so this is probably something to think about. To get 11 players out, I would take a -4 for an attacker. Definitely, I would do that. In terms of defenders, I would only do it if it's probably Van Dijk, a Fulham defender, or a Newcastle defender. Outside of that, I don't think it's worth a hit to get an 11th player out if it's a defender. But if it is an attacker, like a -4 for Gordon or Szoboszlai, I would just do it. I take the chance that it pays off. The worst case scenario is they get sent off or miss a pen or something. But realistically, the worst case scenario is you end up with 2 points from them and you're 2 points down. That's probably worthwhile to take the risk that you could get an 8 or a 9 pointer from that player with some good enough 1 week punts this week. So yes, I would take hits to buy players. Yes, Richards and Semenyo to cash and Gordon not on wildcard 32. Richards and Semenyo to wildcard to cash and Gordon not on wildcard 32. If you're not wildcard 32, I don't think I'd buy Gordon unless you need him for the double. But if you're going to free hit the double, then no, not Gordon. If you're not and you're just playing through, then Gordon's fine. Chasing rank, would I captain Ekitike, João Pedro or Rodgers? I probably would go Ekitike. I fully expect him to start. I think he's their main goal threat, particularly with Salah out the team. I think they'll go 4-4-2, and I think that boosts him. Is it crazy Haaland and Chalobah to DCL and Chaël? No, I don't think selling Haaland this week is crazy at all. I think it's very reasonable. I think there's a very, very small chance that selling Haaland is not the right thing to do in a lot of situations this week. Because if you go wildcard 32, then you just buy Haaland back. And if you go free hit 33, then you don't need Haaland because you free hit him in for the double. Outside of those two strategies, then maybe you want to keep Haaland. But if you're on two of the most popular chip strategies, you don't need Haaland this week and you don't need him next week either. Who would I sell Haaland if you didn't have Ekitike? I would do Haaland to Ekitike, I think, this week. Your team is a mess. Is a -12 hit worth it? Timber to Anderson, Dorgu to Chaël, Sarr to Wilson, and Enzo to Gordon. Might not do the Enzo. Yeah, Enzo to Gordon's not worth a hit, so then it's a -8. I think that's fine. Munoz and Sarr to Gordon and Chaël wildcard played. You've got 11 players. If you've already played your wildcard, I'm not sure I'd be doing both of those moves. Maybe just one of them. I'm not sure I'd be doubling down on it. No. If you've already played your wildcard, I'd be more cautious about using loads of transfers for players who are good this week but might hinder your team going forward. So if you're in one of those people who've already played the chip, I would just accept a bit of a red arrow this week. Take as many transfers as you can, even if it means playing with 9 or 10 players this week. I think it's more beneficial, is the way I stand on it. Bench 1, Tarkowski or James Hill. Rolfs to Kelleher or Roll. Rolfs to Kelleher I would only do if you don't have another goalkeeper. If you've got Dubravka, I would just let it play, and I'd bench Tarkowski and play James Hill, because at least you know Hill's going to start. Tarkowski, you never know. You might get a one-pointer. My chip strategy, please. So, my chip strategy is as follows. Wait until the FA Cup is out of the way and then decide. And that is the same for every single person, even if you've already used your wildcard or you've used your free hit. Whatever happens in the FA Cup in 2 weeks' time, and where they decide to put the doubles and blanks, where they decide to move the fixtures and whether teams blank or not, will dictate chip strategy. I am pretty open to it though. I am not locking it in, and I think that's the clear part that I need to know in my mind, is that I want flexibility. Now, I might end up on wildcard 32, bench boost 33, free hit 34 like everyone else. It's also possible, though, that I end up on free hit 33, wildcard 35. And I will not be deciding until those FA Cup results are done, and we then get the announcement of the doubles and where those fixtures are moving to from the FA Cup semi-final weekend. No one should be locking in a chip strategy now and should be doing their best. I know it's really annoying that you've got to be flexible this week, but you don't know what you want to do in terms of putting players out. But long term, that is the best thing to do. Sacrificing a few points this week for the benefit of your team long term is just the best way to go. Don't you lose your transfer if you wildcard in 5 free transfers? No, you get to keep your transfers the other side of a wildcard. So no, if I wildcard 32, I will still have 5 free transfers in game week 33. Chaël or Gordon, the better Newcastle option? I'd probably go with Gordon. Pick one from João Pedro, Ekitike, and Bowen. Specifically for this week, Ekitike, but long term, I quite like Jared Bowen. Timber or Malik Chaël for Timber to Chaël for 11. You've already wildcarded. I don't mind that because Chaël and Timber benefit you in the same week, so that's fine. No wildcard. Do I bring in Anderson or Van Heck? I would go Anderson of Fulham over Van Heck. Bench one, Tarkowski or Hill, we did, and the last one we did as well. Thank you all very much for all of your super chats. I appreciate it. Back to the main chat. Why is João Pedro not in my captaincy ranking? It's pretty close between him and Palmer and him and Ekitike. it would be quite close down at the bottom of that list. I do think that Bruno and Wilson are the top two quite comfortably. But yeah, I think the others are quite close. Is it worth getting rid of Lafie with your last free transfer for Stack, or just roll and hope he plays? I probably would. If you've still got wildcard left, I probably would do it. I don't think it's a great fixture, Lafie, anyway. He's not on pens anymore, so I probably would just not take the chance. Michael Keane will probably start. I think I'd be surprised if Tarkowski and Branthwaite both start, in which case I think Keane will start. I'd be surprised if Keane doesn't start, and it's also possible that Branthwaite goes back to left back, or yeah. I think people should massively look at Jared Bowen. I think Jared Bowen is a great pick for flexibility. The long-term West Ham fixtures are really good. They've got motivation. He's on some set pieces. He's on pens. He's so talismanic for them. This time last year, we just about started the Jared Bowen monster train that ended the season, where the later you bought Bowen, the bigger your red arrows got every single week, because he just got return after return after return. And I think it's possible that we start to see that again, especially with West Ham needing so much from the end of the season. So I really like Bowen, and he also has DEFCON appeal. He's hit DEFCON quite a lot recently, which is massively different, and just a good base on top of what all the other forwards are getting. So I really, really like Bowen as a pick at the moment. Malik Chow or Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey is better for flexibility long term, but Malik Chow is probably better for the immediate. So it depends a little bit how flexible you want to keep your team. I think there's also a small chance Malik Chow is more nailed, I would say, but Bassey looks pretty nailed now. Would Wilson go for captaincy if you were chasing? Yeah, I actually think that's a really good opportunity. Some weeks when people ask me, would you go against the popular captain if you're chasing? And I go, I wouldn't, because you just want to captain the player who scores the most points, and you can always get it wrong. And you can do that, but I really look at Wilson as a great opportunity this week. I don't often feel that much conviction on there being big differentials. But I really like the Wilson captain this week. If you're chasing, I really would consider it. Really would consider it. I don't see Bruno going big tonight. I might be proved wrong, and I hope I am, because he's going to be my captain. But I do like it as a possibility. 70% of you captain Bruno, 25% captain someone else, and 6% captain on other. If you are in that 6% and you want to, let me know in the chat who you're captaining that's someone else, and we'll have a look at a few of the options. I imagine it's someone like a Gordon, a Ekatike, a João Pedro. I bet those are the names that we're going to see, but I'm interested to know who it is going to be in the chat if you're captaining someone else. Palmer, don't mind that. He's in my top 5. Iwobi, big differential. Rodgers, nice fixture. He played pretty well the other night. Watkins, I'm not certain he starts, but he probably will, given that Tammy Abraham started. Szoboszlai, fine. Gordon, the only issue with Szoboszlai is he might be on pens, which is good, but he might play right back. Gordon, I like. Gordon, I like. Wilson, I like. Ekatike, I like. All fair. Harry Maguire, not my favourite. And Thiago away at Leeds, also not my favourite. Choose 2 out of 3, says Bastian. Gordon, Palmer, Wilson. I probably would just drop Palmer. I just don't think he's worth the money. Why Bruno over Wilson? Just because he has pens, he has set pieces. He's just got a lot of those consistent point returners. And in a week where I don't expect loads of explosivity, I like that for Bruno. You've got Munoz. Liz, your question. Top of your mini league by 50 and trying to be flexible. Chip strategy. You have Wilson, Bruno, and Ekatike. And 5 free transfers. You've got O'Reilly, Gabriel Rice. You've Munoz, O'Reilly, Gabriel Rice, Haaland. Can you do Munoz and O'Reilly to like Anderson and another one, or Munoz to Anderson? Fulham are a great team for flexibility. So are Villa, like Rice to Iwobi or Rice to Rodgers, Munoz to Anderson potentially. Fulham and Villa are great, along with West Ham for flexibility. So even like Haaland to Bowen is great for it. Great for flexible transfers. You've got Villa, Fulham, and West Ham. And the reason for that, the reason for those teams being really useful for your flexibility is you're looking for a team that have a good fixture in 34, but also have a good fixture in game week 31. Because you don't want to sacrifice in 31 against the other people who are just piling into Newcastle, but you also want to buy a player who's going to have a fixture in 34 that's also a good one, right? So Bournemouth are not bad. So actually someone like a James Hill is not a bad buy if you want to keep flexibility open, because although 32 and 33 are not great, in 31 and 34 they're not bad. Who else did I say? Villa, West Ham at home, Fulham away is good. Fulham, Burnley at home, Aston Villa at home, both good. And the final one is West Ham. Villa away, Wolves at home, Everton at home. Good teams for flexibility that you're not sacrificing too much in 31 by buying a player like even a Sunderland player. Good, but you don't want to buy them this week. Or potentially like a Brighton player, for example. Like you want to buy a player who's good this week, but also guaranteed a good fixture in 34 if you want flexibility. That's basically it. If you want flexibility with your chip strategy and your transfers going forward and you don't know when you're definitely going to wildcard, look to buy a player who's got a good fixture in 31 and a good fixture in 34. So you're not sacrificing this week, but you might also be good going forward. I don't love Konza as a pick. I would much prefer you find the money a little bit extra for Matty Cash, but Villa fit it well, right? They've got West Ham at home. You can play him against Forest. You can play him against Sunderland and Fulham away. So Cash is a great example, as FPL Stinky has said in the chat. If you're getting rid of Haaland and you want flexibility, really look at Jared Bowen on top of the likes of Liverpool. But that's why this Liverpool Palace fixture might not go there if they win in the Cup. So that's why maybe Jared Bowen is slightly better with those upcoming fixtures. So those are just things to think about if you want to keep your options open. And that is why flexibility. You could just do it, and wildcard 32 might end up being popular, and then all of this flexibility stuff will be irrelevant. But it might not. I think there's a small chance that there's probably I would say there's a 25%, 30% chance that wildcard 32 is not the best strategy. So it's how much you care about keeping your options open for a 30% possibility. And that's up to you. I would also say that the more transfers you've got, the better it is to keep your options open. Because actually, if you've only got one transfer, the chances are you're wildcard 32 because you won't be able to pivot very well without a wildcard. Anyway, people are saying... Oh, is this? Rumors that Alisson might not be playing tomorrow. And apparently he's also not in the Brazil squad either. Interesting. I mean, if you've got Alisson and you just want to play Dubravka, I think that's what I'd do. But just want to know. No rumour, Harry, confirmed. Yeah, I mean, I don't hear it from an official club, then it's, I suppose, a rumour. But you really think Darlow over Kelleher this week? I'd always take the home goalkeeper. I really like Leeds. Leeds at home versus Leeds away is massively different. It does impact Van Dijk, definitely. Like, I'd be surprised if Liverpool keep a clean sheet this week. But, like, Van Dijk is still a good pick, right? His goal threat has gone massively up. Yeah. Oh, Fabrizio posted it. Did he? I just saw it from a journalist, which is why, I mean, not that Fabrizio has never got anything wrong, but he tends to will not be available against Brighton with new injury, also out for Brazil national team. Fair. That is more concrete from Fabrizio than the report that said he's a doubt. Yeah, it looks like Alisson's out. That does negatively impact Liverpool in general and also their defence. But like, I still think Van Dijk's a fine buy if you've got the money this week. Because if you end up not wildcarding in 32, he's got Fulham at home, Everton away, Palace at home. Like, it's a pretty good run. So if you don't buy him this week, yeah. No extra transfers, but still feel you can manage the upcoming weeks to 35. No, I think it's possible. Like, if you look at my team, I've got 5 free transfers, right? But if I get to 32, so let me reset it. Like, I've got transfers that I could make. I don't need one. Like, I could roll this or just make one transfer. Game week 32, I free here. And game week 34, I've got a full 11. And I even get to bench Richards away at Liverpool. Like, I've already got too many players. Oh, no, I don't. Hang on. Oh, that, yeah. So that's if Haaland blanks. Like, I've already got 11 players. So I technically don't need a transfer. So, yeah, you can definitely do it if you've got less, if your team is well set up. It depends how well your team's... I just happen to have the players who are good for it. I just happen to have the players. Like, some of you might have loads of transfers and not the right group of players. It really is team dependent. And it's really annoying this week. And I fully get it that I've used the words flexibility and future planning more than I've ever used. Probably ever in a week I've used this week. But it is just the benefit to keeping your options open going further down the line, because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen with the cup that might change the way. And I just don't think there's enough. If you own Wilson and you own Bruno, apart from like maybe a clean sheet, there's not players that are easy to predict the points they're going to get this week. So I think there are better options further down the line. Someone said I don't have a goalkeeper this week. I do. Just played Dubravka over David Raya. Barry to Sesko or Richarlison. So Richarlison is an interesting one. I actually don't mind Richarlison as a 1 week punt. I think I would prefer in your position the other part of it, or you could sell Haaland to Ekitike. I'd rather do that, but I don't think that Richarlison at home to Forest is too bad a 1 week punt. If you've got Rolfs, but you've also got a backup goalkeeper like a Dubravka, then I probably would just stick him and play him. We've been live for 40 minutes and I haven't asked anyone to like, not even once. Not even one like ask, and that means that there are 4,000 of you in who haven't liked the stream. So just a little pause. Let me take a little sip of my cup of tea and sip of my juice, and just leave a like on the stream if you could. That would be much appreciated. I'm sure we could get it close to 1,000. I wouldn't punt on Frimpong. He might play right wing. He might play right back. He also might be on the bench. Fulham 0 goals in the last 3 matches. I expect that to turn a corner with Burnley at home. Wilson's also been missing for 2 of those games, and the other one was Forest. Thank you all very much for liking. I appreciate that. Which 2? João Pedro, Thiago, Ekitike. If for this week, I drop Thiago. But long term, I'd drop João Pedro. Plan for Tarkowski is just to play him. I'm just going to play Tarkowski. Yeah, this is what my team actually looks like. But I'm just going to put them back in just for now. Before people have a go at me, why have I got players without a fixture in my starting 11? It's nothing more than a little bit of a laugh so that I get my auto subs at the end of the week to make me feel better. That's all it is. I am keeping the auto sub bench, but I'm not going to do it on stream because I don't want to answer questions on why I'm starting all my blanking players for the next hour. Sorry. M. Pritchard. Wilson for Enzo, 1 free transfer. You have 11 this week. Still have wildcard. I wouldn't, and I think I would still stand by. Or does he? Do I think... So I said roll, but I also said unless it's Wilson or Bruno. I think the stance is I would roll your transfers and not do random team upgrades unless it's Wilson or Bruno. Enzo out, Wilson in, you've got to think has a chance of paying off. Like, it could go wrong, but I think I probably would take that chance. I think I probably would. Because also next week is better. Why am I starting all my blanking players? Will City Palace go 33? Not guaranteed. Not if City lose to Liverpool in the Cup. If City lose to Liverpool, then Liverpool, Palace. Palace are almost certain to double in 33. About 90% chance Palace double, but it's probably 60% chance that it's against City and a 30% chance it's against Liverpool. Would I take a -4 to go from Tavernier to Wilson this week? No, not for a hit. Yeah, if you want to show you how to do the Planet FPL projection. So if you're looking at your team, let me just refresh it. Just if you scroll all the way down, you won't have to scroll that far if you're not squashing your screen like I am. You get down to the fixture ticket. There'll just be this button, and you click that. He will update it. They will update it once the FA Cup is out of the way next weekend. They'll start to update it as results happen, as predictions change, and everything like that. So this is the current prediction. I think it's more likely to land like this. So you can move it. I think that they will put City Palace in 33 rather than saving it to the end and just keep City Burnley in the midweek of 34. That's my prediction. Why can't Palace double in 36? They can, but they could also just double in 33. Anyway, that's how you do it. You scroll down and you just set projections. So that's what the current projections are. Rodgers captain, I'm not sure I'd do it, but I would definitely be keeping Rodgers now. I think West Ham at home is fine. I think he's looked pretty good over the past couple of weeks. Bournemouth conceded 2 goals in their last 5, just so you all know. Yeah, they've been definitely better, but they've also massively outperformed. Like, they've conceded so much XG in that time. They conceded like 3 XG to West Ham on their own in that period. So there is a little bit of that, you know, is an impacting factor on how much we actually believe that their defense is so good. But listen, I like Wilson cap. I like it. Yeah. I wonder why, because I like it so much that I don't have it on him. I just don't think there's much between it. Where does stack for you in your midfield ranking? Quite high. He's the best cheap one. He's below the others like Szoboszlai, probably below Dango. Yeah, Mins. I think his Mins are great, but yeah, he is streaky, but he's just better than Bruno this week. Haaland and Rice to Wilson and Thiago, or Haaland and Guiu to Thiago Bowen. Go Wilson. Go Wilson, Thiago. Yeah. Yeah. No wildcard. Who is the best long-term replacement in midfield? You already have Bruno. Harry Wilson's still probably up there. Liverpool away, Brentford away, Villa at home is fine. Like, the next 4 are good. Then I think Wilson's fixtures are fine to the end of the season. If you don't own him already. Okasel, Erling, Haaland to Ekatike if you're wildcard 32. Absolutely. Tom, love your videos. Thank you very much. Would I do Haaland for Ekatike or Barry to Sesko Richarlison? I do Haaland to Ekatike. Yep. Would I do Anderson to Gordon if I could? No. That's a transfer that I wouldn't do. Like, I know Anderson's not been as good recently for DEFCON. His shot volume has definitely gone up. And he's going to get a 4-pointer probably with DEFCON. And I just don't think that's worth it as a minimum. 3 transfers with 11 players, including Krupi. Transfer him. If you've got money to go to like a Bowen or something, then maybe. But I probably would just keep it as it is. Would I do Sarr and Richards to Gordon and Chaël? Yeah, I don't mind those moves. It does force you more likely into a wildcard 32 strategy, but Gordon and Chaël are great buys for Sunderland at home this week. Would I make a transfer to avoid playing Alderete this week? Not unless you could buy a Fulham or a Newcastle defender. Salah is confirmed out. Yes, Arne Slot ruled him out in the press conference this morning. Does it make sense to do Rice and Guiu to Wilson and Thiago Haaland on the bench, or just do Haaland, Thiago? Yeah, I like Rice to Wilson in order to do it is great, yeah. Why am I not selling Haaland if you're using the wild card? So a few reasons why. First thing is I don't know I'm definitely going to wild card 32. I don't know. The other thing is if I sell Haaland to Jarpedra or Bowen, I've got to bench one of my players. It gives me a benching headache. Who do you bench in this team? Let's see. Let me know in the chat who you'd bench if this was your team. And let's say I did Haaland to Bowen. Who would you bench? Mbeumo, Dewsbury Hall. Yeah. Couldn't bench Tarkowski. It's probably Dewsbury Hall. Which is just not that worth it. I don't think it's that worth it. Just an extra transfer. Using a transfer to buy someone to bench Dewsbury Hall, I just don't think it's worth it. Do I save a transfer to avoid playing Petrovic? I just play Petrovic this week. Unless you've got Leno or Ramsdale, which actually no one does. Everyone's got a pretty bad goalkeeper this week. I think one thing that is interesting is if between now and the deadline we heard that Mbeumo was not going to start. Would I sell Mbeumo or would I sell Haaland? Would I sell Mbeumo or would I sell Haaland instead? I wonder if Haaland to Bowen would be a better transfer than Mbeumo out. Because again, it helps a lot with flexibility. I think I'd sell Haaland. If any of my players Mbeumo's about the only one that's at any sort of risk. Why is Verbruggen high in the goalkeepers to buy, but not in is high in the benching ranking? Because it's long term versus short term. I don't particularly like Verbruggen that long term, but if you've got him, I don't think it's the worst fixture for him this week. Basically, I like goalkeepers this week are pretty rubbish, to be honest. You're probably best off just having a look at buying a player that you like for the long term in those sorts of positions. I think. Bruno to Gordon, I think it's fine. I think it's sideways. I like the projections on Jump the Wave have Mbeumo 85% chance of starting. So why isn't Thiago captain being considered? It's more Leeds than anything. If you look at Leeds' home form, I don't think there's been loads of captaincy hauls away at Leeds this season. So I think the others are pretty close. Get Bowen or Gordon. I would argue that I'd rather do Haaland to Bowen than a Gordon transfer. Tarkowski 100% out. No, I'm going to roll and hope he plays. The update was we think he's back in training, so fingers crossed. I mean, he plays against Chelsea, but from an FPL point of view, I could do with him playing. It is a risk, and if he doesn't play, it's going to look like I definitely shouldn't have taken the risk, because the risk is definitely there. But I have seen a few people, there's someone in the chat earlier who said it as well, about there's talks that it was a disciplinary issue for Tarkowski and Branthwaite. But I don't know how much truth there is in that. But it wasn't the first place that I'd read it. So, I mean, that's also possible. Because he was in training, we think, the Friday before the deadline. And now he's back in training. It all just feels a bit weird, right? So I'm hopeful that he's just going to play and he just gets 3 or 4 points or something. Actually, I hope he gets -5 and Chelsea actually win a game of football for once. But you'd hate to see it. You know it's ahead of time, but what's the perfect lineup for 33? We can't answer that until we know what the doubles look like. If you want to buy a player this week that's good for 33, then buy Newcastle and Chelsea, both very likely to double in 33. Newcastle even more likely. What was the logic behind Liverpool possibly blanking in 34 against Palace? So if Liverpool beat Manchester City in the FA Cup, they're very likely to blank in 34 if Liverpool beat City in the Cup. Because they can't play in 34 because they'll have the FA Cup semi-final and then Europe in midweek. Funny that me and Oscar both have Wilson on our thumbnails and neither of us are captaining him. That type of game week, yeah. I've honestly, I know people will say that, Harry, you'll just do the boring thing. And I will just do the boring thing because that's the type of manager I am, the way that I play this game. But normally when there's a boring captain and an exciting captain, I'm very set on the boring captain, right? I very rarely move off the boring captain. This feels like a week where I am much closer than I normally would be to doing it. That cuppa should just be cold by now. Aha. Non-sponsored video. I have a heated mug. And now everyone will say that's very bougie. And it may be, but I got it for Christmas from my family. Were like, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, do you know what I would actually really like? I love this heated mug because I have a cup of tea on every single one of my streams. And it is an Ember mug. And I've had it for like 4 years. And it's actually, if you look at it as price per cup of tea, it is a great investment. But yeah, it keeps my cup of tea warm for the whole stream. Although it is not doing that much of a job. Yeah, Kenny Tete is a doubt. He probably will end up playing, but he is a doubt. So if you want to buy a Fulham defender that's not Anderson now, it probably has to be Calvin Bassey. I don't think you can reliably buy Anthony Robinson at left back because it might be Sessegnon. I think Mukiele will probably play, but we don't really know. Apparently he was in training the other day. I heard on a podcast this week that they thought he was. But who would I get rid of if I sell Tarkowski? I wouldn't be selling Tarkowski. I'd be selling Richards. And that's the issue. Like, it could even be Richards to James Hill. Or it could be Richards to Diouf of West Ham. Because actually the long-term West Ham fixtures work quite well for my team. Or it could be Calvin Bassey, but I think it makes more sense for me not to go for a second Fulham one just because their fixture next week. It probably would be Diouf of West Ham. Like, if I made a defensive transfer now, it would either be Tarkowski to Matty Cash, but I don't think that's particularly beneficial. I think it would be Richards to Diouf. You talk about Bowen, but Pedro is above in my rankings. Because Bowen fits a very specific strategy, whereas for the next 3 weeks, I think João Pedro is better. Topton fans, does Richarlison play 90s now? He was suspended in Europe, so I expect him to, yeah. I think João Pedro and Bowen is actually really close. I think I would probably just about go Bowen for my strategy because I want to keep the options open. But I think if the majority are from Wildcard 32, I'd rather have João Pedro this week. Thiago not in the captaincy debate. I just think away at Leeds is not the fixture to target, personally. Yeah, I want to have a look. Leeds home results. So they lost 4. So here we go. Leeds home results this season. 1-0. They won against Everton. Then they won 1-0 against, drew 0-0 with Newcastle, drew 2-2 with Bournemouth. Then they lost 2-1, won 2-1, lost 2-1, won 3-1, drew 3-3. They've only conceded more than 2 goals at home twice this season, and it was Liverpool and Arsenal. The only times that it is that they've conceded that many goals twice this season at home. I mean, I doubt Bournemouth are any different, to be honest. Let me have a look. Bournemouth record at home. Oh yeah. They've only done it. Bournemouth have only done it once, which was against Arsenal. Now let's look at it for Burnley. Burnley away results. Ooh, my club player is up to be picked. Who's it going to be? Oh, rare. Defender. Manchester United. Who's that? Dallo. Interesting. I don't think I want him. Burnley this season have, conceded 3-3, 5-2, 2, 3-3-2-1-2-1-3-2-1. It has been less recently, but yeah, still not great viewing. When am I wildcarding? Either 32 or 35. Mukiele to Anderson for a hit, potentially. I'd be very surprised if that's worth a hit. I don't think I'd do it. Just to clarify, have you considered that if you roll a transfer and then your wildcard or free transfer afterwards, you lose all your free transfers and go back to one? It might be worth factoring that. You don't. So rule changed 2 seasons ago that you can carry transfers through a wildcard and through a free hit. So I don't have to use them all this week. Am I aiming to keep Haaland on wildcard? It depends. If he's going to double and I'm going to wildcard before the double, then I'll almost certainly buy him. And again, it depends what the title race looks like. But if there's a chance that the title race goes even to this and they've got Burnley, Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, then yeah. Then yes, I will. With 1 game a week, they're not in Europe. I don't really see that much of a reason to take him on. The other thing is there's nothing really to spend the money on with Haaland. Is if the likes of Palmer, Salah, Saka were actually playing well and scoring points, then taking out Haaland would be worthwhile. But I could take out Haaland. Like the wildcard draft I built, I could afford Haaland, but I just had like Ekitike instead of him. I could have done Ekitike to Haaland in the wildcard draft I built yesterday. So that's the issue with the money at the moment and why I don't particularly feel the need to take out Haaland. You have no more wildcard. Should I do bench boost 33, free at 34, triple captain 36 on Haaland? Probably, but do consider that you might want to free hit 33 depending on how the doubles fall. Spreading the funds not really worth it. Yeah, absolutely. That's the issue. If there were loads of good expensive players performing well, I probably would have sold Haaland last week. But I just didn't think there was anyone particularly worth it. Now, I've got quite lucky with the way that the Salah and Palmer situations went last week. But Haaland could have done something against West Ham, right? So, you've got exactly 11 starters, but having to start Krupi Jr. Would I upgrade Krupi to either Ekitike or João Pedro? You're wildcarding. If you could do Krupi to Ekitike this week, I probably would, yeah. Hall or Chow if money's no issue. I probably would still go Malik Chow. Best pun in every position for this 1 game week, please. Wildcard 32, budget no concern as selling Haaland. You want punts? So I'm going to go first of all for a really differential. No, I'm going to go for the good list, right? In goal, Ramsdale. In defense, probably Malik Chow or Lewis Hall, unless it's a Fulham defender. In midfield, it's probably Anthony Gordon. And up front, any of Ekitike, Jared Bowen, probably. And if you want big differentials, in goal, Darlow at home to Brentford. In defence, Van de Ven at home to Forest. Or Milenkovic in the opposite side of that fixture. If you want a midfielder that's a huge differential, then it's Iwobi. And if you need a forward, it's Richarlison. That's if you want crazy big differentials, right? It depends how you define differentials in your mind. Yes, your super chat. Van Dijk and Szoboszlai or Frimpong and Gordon will wildcard in 32. Just so much uncertainty about Frimpong. I would go Szoboszlai and Van Dijk, but I'm boring like that. You're thinking of a Iwobi captain and you're going mad. Yes, he's even more streaky than Harry Wilson is. So yes. Richards and Tarkowski out for Cash, Chow, Anderson. If you have to sell if you need 2 defenders and you have to downgrade Tarkowski to afford the other one potentially, if not just Richards to Anderson this week. And we are into the final hour before the deadline. So we're going to drop it in subscriber only mode. We are also 57 subscribers away from likes away from 1,000 likes. So if you could drop a like on the stream, that would be great. You will literally have to subscribe for 1 second to start commenting in the chat. And yeah, if you've already subscribed and you still want to support even more, then drop a like or double tap the little hearts in the corner as well. I think they help. I don't quite know what they do. I know on like TikTok and stuff, they do something. But yeah, those little hearts and things, I don't know what they do, but whatever, or other faces. Yeah, the laughing faces, all of them. Don't know what they do, but yeah. Can I do them? Oh, I can do them myself on my own stream. Look at all that. That seems a bit counterintuitive, that. But yeah. Anyway. With 11 starters, including Chaël, use a transfer on him. Only if you can buy a Newcastle or a Fulham defender. If you look at Rob T's projections, outside of Fulham and Newcastle, there's no real defender that's worth buying unless you back Villa at home to West Ham, which I don't particularly think I would. Yes, let me go through the ones that I've missed. Play Sanchez or Kelleher. Play Sanchez. Ekitike captain to catch up in the mini league. Probably not. Probably, I don't. I mean, Ekitike's not a bad captain. He's 5th in my ranking, so I'm not completely against it. 1-2 Dougie, you've got 5 free transfers. You've already played the wild card and other chips available. Thinking about doing Semenyo to Palmer to get 11 and captaining him. I don't love the Palmer pick. I'm just not really sure it's worth it, if I'm honest. Oh, you heard me clicking. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Palmer punt right now, if I'm honest. I don't think he's playing well enough. That might be my Chelsea fan bias coming into it, but Ramsdale should start. I know he conceded lots midweek, but I expect him to keep his place. Would I do Enzo to Gordon or hold 2 free transfers remaining? I would just roll. I'm not sure that's worth a sideways transfer. Semenyo to Gordon. Yeah, like if it gets you a player this week, yes. Would I want to bring Rice or Semenyo back in? If so, how much would you look to lose? I'd sell Rice before Semenyo, I think. Will Wilson's EO being over 100%? I don't think so. I think it might be very close to it, but I don't... Well, yeah, I don't think it will. He's still only about 60-50 last week, so... You want to be spicy this week and captain Wilson. You probably regret it, though. Again, I like the Wilson captain. I've nothing to put anyone off it. And actually, I have more positive things to say about Wilson captain than I do about Bruno captain, if I'm honest. Since Alisson is injured, doesn't that make already a weak Liverpool defence even worse? Would it be better to go for Anderson for a 1-week punt? Over Van Dijk, probably. If I was buying for 1 week, I'd buy Anderson and Malik Chaël over buying Van Dijk. Yeah, I would. Would I keep O'Reilly, Semenyo, Haaland, or Pedro, Gordon, Chaël, wildcard 32? I mean, if you're wildcard 32 and you want to sell 3 players who blank, that's absolutely fine. Like, they're better this week. Depends what it does for the rest of your team and if you're certain on wildcard 32. But Pope, I don't expect to start. There's a chance after all the goals conceded, but I don't see it. I expect Ramsdale to keep his place. Eddie Howe's not one to massively change his goalkeepers that much. And once he's made this decision, which you feel like he's made, I think it will be... I think it will be... Ramsdale and goal. Van Dijk for Van Heck for a hit. Nah, not worth a hit. I probably expect Brighton to score, especially with Alisson out. Do I think Josh Achampong will start? Maybe your cheap Chelsea defender. I expect Gusto to start. I think Gusto will be back. So no. I don't think Achampong will. Bowen or Thiago or João Pedro. This week, João Pedro. Long term, Bowen. Do I think Malik Chaël is more of a risk now that Tonali is injured? I think it makes them slightly worse. I just think it makes their defence worse. But I still don't mind it this week. Still don't mind it at all. By Chow and Hall or Chow and Cash. Probably Chow and Cash, just keep things a little bit more flexible. I don't love any of the defenders that much enough to like double up on them. Normally I have more on a free hit week where there's like one defense I'd pile into. I don't think I feel it that much. Ekitike captain on a scale of 1 to 1. I'd probably put him in about a 1. I believe that means scale of 1 to 10. I'd put him at a 7. That's such a cop-out answer. I almost went 6, but 6 was... 7. Moving on quickly. Haaland's not worth having now. I agree. But I just don't need to sell him. Like, I've got a front seven this week. Got Bruno, Anderson, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall and Burmo, Ekitike, Thiago. If I sell Haaland this week, it's a transfer that I don't have going forward, and I have to bench one of my front seven. I don't think that transfer is as valuable as it could be further down the line. I'm not certain to wildcard 32. No, I might delay it to 35. Again, discussed a lot of chip strategy stuff this week. Basically, I haven't decided between wildcard 32 and bench boost 33, free hit 34, or free hit 33, wildcard 35, bench boost 36. And it might be impacted on after the FA Cup as well if we get a projected double in 36. It's because if I could wildcard 35 to bench boost 36 to have triple Palace for their double, although if they're still in Europe, how many of them are even going to start? Triple City for their double, and then have the rest of the team like triple Arsenal away at West Ham. Like I'd probably jump off Brentford. Like I might not have that much. The issue is like Chelsea, Liverpool. So it's not even that great a bench boost week 36 because Chelsea play Liverpool. But you'd probably play them anyway if you've got them. Listen, I expect wildcard 32 to be the best and most popular strategy, but I am keeping my options open that it might not happen. Game week 35 feels like too late to wildcard. So my only thoughts on this, and the reason that I agree with you, only wildcarding for 4 or 5 weeks doesn't feel great. But there are big caveats to that. Wildcard 32, bench boost 33, free hit 34. Because you're free hit 34, you're only wildcarding for 2 extra weeks. Right? You're going wildcard 32 versus 35. So it's 3 weeks different, but one of them's a free hit. So it's only 2 weeks earlier. If City double in 33 and Chelsea double, you are going to wildcard into a team in 32 that looks worse than your team before the wildcard because Chelsea play City. Because Chelsea play City. And I'm not planning to wildcard in a week to make my team worse. So listen, we're going to be flexible. I won't dwell on it too much because there's lots of other questions in the chat. But yeah, I'm just kind of thinking that it doesn't work for my team particularly well. Because if we go back to FPL.team, this is my team in 32. With 5 frees. There's nowhere in this world that you need to wildcard this team. I can just buy a couple of West Ham at home to Wolves, free hit the double in 33, have also there's West Ham at home to Everton. I buy Bowen, Haaland to Bowen, Richards to, and then maybe a midfielder that I like if there is one. Like and go and buy Salah. Like, I might end up buying Salah in 32. Don't think Chelsea is a difficult fixture for City. No, but you'd also like... So, like, with the teams who double in 33, right, you'd go for triple up. So, you go for triple Arsenal. That's fine. I've already got 2 of them. Brighton away at Burnley, like, trying to predict who that's going to be. That's fine. Burnley, triple City you'd want. Triple Chelsea you'd want. And triple Newcastle you'd want. Triple Newcastle away at Palace is also not that straightforward. Sorry, there are just a few different factors combining that means it's not a perfect week, but there isn't a perfect week for it. Can we roll a transfer if you wildcard 32? So if you wildcard 32, you will have the same number of transfers afterwards as you did before. To upgrade a player who isn't blanking, yeah. So I wouldn't upgrade a player who isn't blanking unless you are buying Bruno or Harry Wilson. Otherwise, I would just play it. As long as you think they're going to start. If you don't think the player is going to start, but they don't blank, then that's different. Then it's probably more worth it. If you've got a player who you expect to be on the bench, who's a good example? I don't know. I don't have an example. Who's a player who's likely to be benched? I can't even think of one right now that people would own. Fulham, Burnley. Who? Creepy. Oh, like, no, but Guiu. No, I'm okay. Like, Guiu doesn't really count. Guiu's a blanker, basically. Like, if you've got Adley, right? Then Adley up to a playing midfielder is probably worth it because Adley's might get 1 point. I would definitely count Mark Guiu as a blanking player. Keane and someone like a Mukiele might be worth it if you've got a free transfer, but I think I would the defenders are less exciting. So I would probably just play Mukiele unless you can go to Chaël or Anderson. Michael Keane's another one, but defenders are much less exciting. And I think Keane will probably start. At this point of the season, do I think the full chip reset about game week 19 added to increase to 5 free transfers too much? If it was me and I was making the rules for FPL next year, well, the 5 free transfers for next season won't be there because they were for AFCON. So they won't, I imagine they won't be in the game next year, presume not. I don't think double chips has made the game better or worse. I think it means that everyone has played a very similar chip strategy and it's just meant there's more swings in terms of luck involved, which I don't particularly like. Like, people captain Haaland at home to Burnley, at home to Leeds, at home to West Ham, all very similar. Some of them got 30 points, some of them got 4. So, and then everyone's got loads of chips to play at the end. I don't particularly mind double chips that much, but I like the increase from banking from 2 to 5. I'm a big planner, right? I'm a big planner ahead. It's good. It's a benefit to me, I think, because I like it. But actually, it's not massively benefited my rank. Why West Ham or Leeds won't double in 33 with one of them winning in the cup? So the midweek of game week 34 is only taken up by European fixtures. So their 34 fixture could just stay in the midweek of 34, whereas all the other predictions coming into 33 are because there's lots of teams left in Europe like Palace and Arsenal. And I was going to say Newcastle, but they're out as well. UCL fantasy subs would make the game much more enjoyable. I actually wholeheartedly disagree with the opinion that we should have subs during the game week. I absolutely think for a game like UCL Fantasy that it is good, but part of the beauty that a lot of people play FPL is the simplicity of the game. You are trying to change a fundamentally simple game by making it more confusing with things like that. I love manual subs in certain games, but I don't think it's right for FPL. Personally, anyway, these are big debates about FPL and stuff like that we can talk about a different time, not 45 minutes to go before a blank game week deadline. No benching dilemmas this week. If you've got a benching dilemma that you want me to answer, I will happily do it, but I couldn't fill more than about 4 spots. So, yeah. You need a defender to have 11 players, but don't want to lock chip strategy. Richard to Cash or Timber to Van Dijk. I'd probably do Timber to Van Dijk. Probably. Best midfielder to buy if you don't fancy Gordon. You already have Wilson, Bruno, Dango, and Dye, and then Rice. Iwobi, Szoboszlai, probably. Semenyo and Krupi to Szoboszlai and Gordon. This is from Alex. Semenyo and Krupi to Szoboszlai or Gordon and DCL, or just do Anderson and João Pedro. I prefer Szoboszlai DCL, probably, yeah. Yeah. Had Haaland to Pedro or Ekitike. You don't like Chelsea fixtures. I'd go Ekitike first. Think even next week it's better. Cash or Chalobah. Cash for Chalobah, thinking long-term wildcard 35. Yep. Cash definitely helps. Some of their upcoming fixtures are pretty good. Also, do look at West Ham. If you think West Ham score against Villa this week, you're better off buying a West Ham defender. Again, West Ham, Villa away, Wolves at home, Sunderland at home, Everton at home. Oh no, Villa away, Wolves at home, Palace away, Everton at home. If you just want to take the gamble that the player you might want to buy is going to concede this week, then I would just buy a West Ham defender. I'd buy Diouf. Because their 32-34 are great. That would be the player I'd buy if I made a defensive transfer. I pretty much decided that it would be Richards to Diouf. Can I explain why Bruno Cap is over Wilson? It's basically, as people said in the chat, just like caliber of player and reliability based on routes to points and a bit of a safety pick. He's not as good as away from home as he is at home. Bruno does have pens. He has set pieces. I do also think that Bournemouth's defence has been good, but it's not as watertight as the results have said, I think. I like Harry Wilson, but he is a streaky player. Finally pulled the transfers and done a Haaland to Ekitike and going back and forth. Would I do Tarkowski to Chaël just to guarantee a full 11? You feel like you're pretty locked. If you're locked on a wildcard, I probably would do that transfer, yeah. But I don't think I'd do it just to keep it flexible. Bench 1, João Pedro and Burma and Dye or Tav. Probably in Dye or Tav. Be more inclined to bench probably in Dye. You don't want to sell your blanking players, 6 blanking but only 2 transfers. Well, you've got to sell a couple of them, I would say, to try and get up to 11 players or even 10. Yeah, even if you want to get to 9, I would still be making at least 1 transfer. If you've played your wildcard, there is a benefit to not selling all your blanking players this week and playing a few players down. Do I sell Enzo for Elliott, Anderson or Gordon? No. Just keep Enzo. I think Enzo's all right this week. He's not been great, but I would take the extra transfer, I think. Would I bring in out of Chaël or João Pedro? Interesting. I probably would do João Pedro. Prioritise Haaland to Ekitike or O'Reilly to Chaël. I'd rather Ekitike than Malik Chaël this week. You're doing Enzo to Gordon. I think that's a fine transfer. I'd rather roll. If I had Enzo in for Mbermo, I would still be rolling. DeAndre, thoughts on Ekitike captain? You're chasing a bit. Again, he's in my top 5, so I don't massively mind it. I do think Bruno and Wilson are above him, and I think Wilson is a better chasing captain. Kinski in goal for Spurs. We don't know if he's going to be in goal this week. There is going to be an operation for Vicario after the weekend, so next week. We don't know whether it means Vicario is going to be able to start or not this week. Best midfielder to buy, we did. Take out Timber or O'Reilly for Malik Chaël. I'd rather take out O'Reilly because Timber's good next week. Unless you've... Yeah, I'd take out O'Reilly. Mukiele to Chaël or Anderson. Still have wildcard and 4 frees. I probably would go Anderson just because it helps you be flexible compared to Chaël. Currently at 9 starters, including Mukiele. 4 free transfers. Haaland and Guiu to Bowen and Ekitike. Yeah. Haaland and Guiu out, Bowen and Ekitike in, definitely. Or use the 3rd to replace Mukiele. Only if you can buy Anderson, probably. Because if you're buying Bowen and Ekitike, that really favours free hit 33, wildcard 35. So if you don't have Anderson, if not, just play Mukiele. Richards to Cash and O'Reilly to Hall, wildcard 35, free hit 34. Richards to Cash or O'Reilly to Hall. I'd buy Hall over Cash then if you're wildcard 32. When am I saving both your free and wildcard for if you haven't used one already? Either wildcard 32, wildcard 32, free hit 34, or free hit 33, wildcard 35, depending on how the doubles land. Either of those. Wildcard 32, free hit 34 is the easiest strategy, and the one where if you don't want to try and be too clever and you don't have loads of transfers, wildcard 32 is going to be the most popular strategy. I mentioned bench boost 33, free hit 34, wildcard 35 as a less likely strategy. Can we explain why? Yeah, so the only reason you'd bench boost 33, free hit 34, wildcard 35 instead of wildcard 32 is if you can get to a bench boost 33 without having to use your wildcard, basically, which is very unlikely. And it would need a lot of doubles in 33 for teams that we don't expect. Like, who do Leeds have? Like, it would need the West Ham Everton game, which is predicted to stay in 34, to actually go to 33. It would need a lot of doubles for that to be possible, basically. I don't want to get too bogged down in terms of chip strategy, because we'll cover it all over the next week once the FA Cup is more out of the way. Kozak, of course. Sell Rice to Gordon / another, or just start as Stev. If you can buy Bruno or Wilson, I probably would do that. Or if you have another midfielder you really like, if not, just play a Stev. And my wild card 32. Yeah, let's leave the chip strategy stuff for a moment and try and do a few others. Enzo and Mbermo for Wilson and Gordon. No, I would just do Enzo to Wilson potentially. And Mbermo to Gordon's not needed. You have Tarkowski, Mukiele, rest are blanking. You've got one transfer. Should I do? You've got Tarkowski, Mukiele, rest 3 are blanking. One transfer. Well, just play those two. And just do one transfer on a third defender and hope Mukiele and Tarkowski both play. Probably. Mike, start Pickford or Dubravka? Probably Pickford. Percentages on wildcard 32 versus 35. I would say 60% 32, 40% 35. Maybe slightly lower and then like 10% on something else, but is Goodmanson worth a transfer? Is Goodmanson worth a transfer? Yeah, well, he doesn't have a fixture, so if it adds, he's suspended. So if it adds an extra player to your lineup, then yeah, sell Goodmanson, even if it's just a Rodon. Coppers, do I take out Timber or O'Reilly for Chow? I'd sell O'Reilly for Chow. 1 week punt, Newcastle defense, or Bassey, you own Anderson. I'd go for a Newcastle defender. I think Malik Chow is more likely to hit a 15-pointer than Bassey is. You have 10 starters and carry transfers, or use a transfer for 11 starters. Also not putting your blanks in starting 11. Yes, I will be putting my blankers in my starting 11. If you've already used your wild card and you've got 10 players and you've got the key players, I would just play with 10. A transfer is more valuable. You're better off saving it than getting it wrong if you've already played your wild card. I think this week. Am I taking out Tarkowski? You've got him as well. I'm going to be keeping him unless someone said there was something on Reddit that sounded like Tarkowski was a bigger doubt than it made it seem, but I can't see anything on Twitter about it. The issue is, after what we said last week, it feels like David Moyes is just hiding the info from us, that he's not really going to tell us. So I am gambling and I'm guessing a little bit. I don't know, like, is Richards to Diouf just for cover even worth it? It would just look really silly if someone missed, if Tarkowski missed out that I just didn't make a transfer. Is it worth gambling on transfers for Spurs players? They're big differentials. Yeah, it depends how punty you want to go. I wouldn't be buying Spurs players probably, but I can understand if you're chasing why you'd want to. Is Wilson essential this week? I wouldn't say essential, but I would say he's one of the few players I would make a non-essential transfer this week for. Like, it would be Richards to Diouf, but it's just whether I think Tarkowski doesn't play. Just if I think Tarkowski doesn't play. I was like, oh, I'll definitely roll. I was my week went like this. I was convinced I was going to roll. And then I got to like Wednesday and I was like, oh, Tarkowski's going to be out. So I'd convinced myself I was going to have to make a transfer. And then I heard the press conference update and I was like, oh, I can actually just roll. And now I'm suddenly like, oh, but there's still doubt in it. But then is Diouf even that great away at Villa? Like, that is probably the transfer I'd make. You have 11 starters. Chalobah is your only sub. Would I sell to Malik Chow / Hall, or just hope to not need the bench and save the only transfer? Chalobah is the only sub. Oh, you've got 11 starters. That's fine. As long as they're all likely to play, then I think you just play with it. Start Van Dijk or Dewsbury Hall. Probably Dewsbury Hall. Haaland to João Pedro, Raul or Bowen. Rank them for 31 alone. Probably Jimenez, João Pedro, Bowen. But long term, it would be Bowen, Pedro, Jimenez. Any Liverpool or Chelsea midfielders worth signing? I don't mind Szoboszlai. I don't mind Wirtz. Don't mind Palmer. Do I think Enzo Lafitte or Mukiele will start? I think you'll get at least one of those. It's a big game, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just push them a little bit early. Why Diouf over cash? Because if I'm selling Richards, I can't afford cash. I would only have 4.5 million for a defender. Just Richards to cash. Sorry, Richards to Diouf. Richards to Diouf in order to leave Diouf on the bench. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be doing Richards to Diouf in order to bench Diouf. Because I wouldn't start Diouf over Tarkowski. Like, Tarkowski's probably got more points potential this week than Diouf does, right? So I would be doing Richards to Diouf to sit on my bench. I could also go James Hill because he's got Leeds at home in the blank. Like, maybe he's the other one. But again, like, Diouf is useful for me next week because he's got Wolves at home. Whereas it's not helpful for James Hill. It's not helpful. It makes no sense. Might as well roll. But if Tarkowski or someone else misses out, then I'll be glad that I did the transfer. You'd go Hill, honestly, and just start him. You personally have Senesi. Yeah, but I might need them next week, so I might not wildcard next week, no. Like, it's purely, if Tarkowski plays, I shouldn't do the transfer. If Tarkowski doesn't play, I should do the transfer. And it's as clear as that. If I need cover, why don't you just swap out Richards for Rodon? Because if I go on the second strategy, Rodon goes away to Bournemouth in 34. I'd much rather have Diouf, who's got Everton at home, and also in game week 32, I would need a defender, and West Ham have got Wolves at home, whereas Leeds go away to United. Where most people won't have a spare, lots of -4s, and many have 10 anyway. Yeah, that's true. That is true. The chat has a the chat has made me think about just doing it just to have the cover. Like, a lot of the planning I do further down the line, I don't need all my transfers, particularly. Is it just sensible? I would go cash over Diouf if I could afford him, yeah, but I'm not going to sell Tarkowski. I'm drinking blackcurrant squash. It is making me wonder, but the thing is, I wouldn't play Diouf. That's the... what could happen is I end up wildcard 32. Tarkowski plays a wildcard 32, and I've literally just given a transfer away. Even if Tarkowski plays, he gets smashed by the Chelsea. I mean, the way we're playing, probably not. I mean, I guess, is there a possibility that any of my other players... What's the percentage chance that one of my players doesn't play? If it's only Tarkowski, I think it's... I mean, then you add in a tiny risk of, 0 point or like 1% of everyone else. 10% plus Tarkowski, 30%. Suddenly I'm at a 40% chance. There's a chance, but Mbeumo's going to be in the squad. Like, he's going to come on. So unless we hear that he's benched before the deadline, then I'll sell him. But yeah, Mbeumo's going to come on. Even if Ekitike could get rested, I'd be very surprised based off what happened last weekend. With only 10 players available, should I roll or sell Haaland or Semenyo? I'd sell Haaland before Semenyo, I think. Haaland to Bowen, Haaland to João Pedro, Haaland to Ekitike. With Chalobah out, do I think Acheampong will start? If not, then he could play at centre-back. Trying to predict who's going to play at centre-back is a nightmare for us this week. I expect Gusto to be at right-back. I hope Acheampong plays at centre-back, but it's not guaranteed. It doesn't do great stuff. This is the other thing. If we don't have Chalobah, who are we going to start at centre-back? We're going to be so vulnerable from set pieces against Everton, which makes me want to keep Tarkowski. Who are we going to play at centre-back? We're going to be so vulnerable at set pieces. Fofana will play, and then it's who goes next to him. Oh, God. That is not great. Anderson for Timber. You have one transfer in wildcard 32. Yeah, if it adds an extra player being put out, Anderson and Malik Chow are the best ones to consider. Right, enough of my team. We'll get to it later and closer to the deadline, but I think I'm probably going to roll and take the chance on Tarkowski. The news was that he was back. They were back in training today, so I want no real... there's no real doubt for me, but he was back in Everton training apparently, but I don't know. I am really wondering about just doing Richards, just having the cover, because I've just got moves further down the line, which I just don't really need to make. Is there anything at all on Twitter about Tarkowski? Don't think so. If you could just drop a like on the stream while I have a look if there's any news. I'm also going to have a look now for anything on Mbeumo as well. If anyone sees anything on Twitter that you'd like me to see, as always, please tag me in it. Like, people are saying, I search Mbeumo, and the second comment is, Mbeumo is tired, he needs a rest. What is he tired from doing? They play less games than everyone else in the league. Why is there fatigue? Should be ready to go every week. It's pretty alarming if he's tired. Feels pretty alarming. Yeah, like Sesko might start, and he might deserve to start, but surely Mbeumo's not fatigued. Like, the guys hardly played any matches. If I look at their fixtures, look, Manchester United results, right? When did they... Full match schedule, hang on. They played on Sunday against Villa, and before that, they didn't play for 11 days before that. They've played once since the 4th of March. They've played once in 2.5 weeks, and I'm meant to believe that Mbeumo is fatigued. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it that Mbeumo is... Mbeumo is still fatigued from AFCON. I mean... I can't believe it. I cannot believe we're having this conversation. We have others... There are other players who play twice a week, every week. And I know AFCON is a very full-on and very intense tournament with lots of games in a very quick succession. But I cannot believe that there is fatigue in a team that has played once in 2.5 weeks. Anyway, yeah, it might just be a cover-up if they want to drop him and play in Burmo, like not in Burmo, and play Sesko. Anyway, back to the questions. Just over 20 minutes to go to the deadline. Thank you all as well. We hit 1,000 likes. I massively appreciate all the support on the channel and on the streams as well. Thank you all very, very much. Would I do Tarkowski to Anderson for free? Probably not. Probably not. Buy João Pedro or Ekitike. Ekitike just over João Pedro. Why are people sleeping on Wirtz? He's been better stats than Szoboszlai. He just didn't look great since he's come back from injury. Szoboszlai on pens now that Salah's out as well. Szoboszlai on free kicks, set pieces. Has the route to points that Wirtz doesn't. I like Wirtz as a differential, but start and die or João Pedro. Just about play João Pedro, I think. Would I take a hit to remove Tarkowski? No, definitely not. I think I'm going to roll. I do just wonder about cover for anyone else, though. Because although the chance of everyone else missing out is probably quite low, but there's probably like 1 or 2% per player, which you add that up is like, then add quite, is quite a lot. But then like Diouf away at Villa's like not particularly great anyway. Like what's he going to get? A 1-pointer probably. Like it's probably not worth it. So I'm going to roll, I think. Unless there is anything, of course, I see on Twitter that someone tags me in that makes me think he's more of a doubt. But like, I'm just not sure it's particularly worth it. What's Diouf going to get away at Villa? Like a 1-2 pointer max, probably. I mean, he might get an attack and return, but you can't really bank on that. I mean, I could go to another Fulham defender, but I don't think I particularly need that with Anderson. Yeah. People saying that I need to take more risks with my transfers. So the more transfers you have, I'm going to use them all by the end of the season. So I will take risks with them at some point. I just don't think this is a very good week to do it. I don't think this is a great week to take big risks with transfers because there's not much predicted to be high-scoring games. To be honest. Fulham had bad fixtures. I think Fulham's bad fixtures are blown out of proportion. Burnley at home, Liverpool away is not great. Brentford away is absolutely fine. Villa at home is absolutely fine. Next four are absolutely fine for Fulham. So, got 5 free transfers. Need to use one. Sell Semenyo to a 1-week punt. Yeah, Gordon, Wilson, Iwobi, all good 1-week punts. Timber for who? You don't have Tarkowski. You have Van Dijk, Richards, Anderson. Timber for who? You don't have Tarkowski. You have Van Dijk, Richards, Anderson. You've got Van Dijk, Richards, Anderson. Probably Malik Chow. Probably. There was no benching ranking because no one really has any benching decisions. The goalkeepers are in the top right-hand corner. If you want to have a look at those. So they are up there in a moment. But outfield players, no one really has them. Would I start Sunderland defender or Senesi? Definitely Senesi. Almost certain they'll get DEFCON again. The way that Bournemouth play. Thiago, this is from Burashid. Thiago and DCL starting for me. You have 3 transfers. Need to replace O'Reilly. Is Haaland to Ekitike and O'Reilly to Hall a good move, or just replace O'Reilly? If Haaland to Ekitike gives you a benching decision, then I wouldn't bother. But if it adds an extra fixture, then I would. And yeah, just sell O'Reilly if not. Is Mbeumo to Wilson worth a transfer? Probably not. Probably not, unless we hear that Mbeumo is not going to play. But we've only got 17 minutes to go into the deadline, which feels pretty unlikely. By the way, everyone asking in the chat about chip strategy, future planning. and all of that. We're going to stick around for a little while after the deadline in order to discuss all of it. We'll do a bit of future planning and all of that. So please do stick around after the deadline if you want to hear that and do some future planning and talk about what the FA Cup games mean and what we should be doing for the next 3 weeks until the next FPL deadline. Is Tarkowski playing? We don't know. Apparently he's back in training, but that's all we've got on it. Best forward for wildcard 35, Jared Bowen or Ekatike. Ekatike still comes with a slight bit of risk because he could blank in 34 if they beat City in the Cup. So probably Bowen. Is Mukiele playing? I don't know. I don't think I'd use a transfer to sell Mukiele unless you can buy Anderson of Fulham. Who do I transfer in between Gordon and Barnes? I'd go Gordon. He's much better. Gordon much better long term, I think, than Barnes. Barnes I like as a 1 week punt. He was my 1 week punt on the FPL show today, if anyone has watched that or has seen it out and about. But yeah, long term I'd want Gordon. Gordon for Enzo, I don't think it's particularly worth a sideways move. You need to sell Salah, who's the best replacement for a 1 week. Wilson if you don't own, Bruno if you don't own. Outside of that, any of the punts like Gordon, like Rogers, Szoboszlai, Dango Ouattara, Iwobi, Captain Bruno or Wilson. Bruno is much safer. Wilson's much more explosive and probably more exciting. It was nice and sunny when I started and I've watched the sunset. Well, I haven't. The sun doesn't set that way, but I've seen it get darker and darker. You've probably seen, I probably look different to how I looked at the beginning of this stream. Tarkowski to Chaël or Semenyo to Wilson. I'd much rather buy Wilson than Malik Chaël this week. And Tarkowski might even play, so not as essential. Estev and Semenyo to Chaël and Rogers. Yeah, I don't mind Rogers this week. Keep it low key. I apologize. Let me take a look. Any news on Ballard? No. He was in the list. Basically, the Sunderland manager listed all of their injured players and said some of them could be back this weekend. And that is all we got. So no. I look older. Well, I'm about 2 hours older. Yeah, sad Chelsea fan here. You're not the only one. You are not the only one. Sad week state of Chelsea at the moment, but that's a conversation for another time, maybe after the deadline. You got Gordon, Malik Chaël, Anderson to Hall, Fulham defender, or who? You've got Gordon, Chaël, Anderson to Hall, Fulham defender / who? You've got Gordon, Chaël, Anderson. Gordon, Chaël, Anderson are all good buys this week. Prefer buying Anderson over Chaël. Probably is better long term. Probably slightly better long term. Just moving Anderson above Chaël in my defender ranking in the top corner. How long have we got? Just under 15 minutes to go. Again, let's go through a couple of things before we get to the final 10 minutes. These are the projections that we have for game week 31 in terms of predicted goals and predicted clean sheets. In terms of goals, United, Fulham, Villa, Newcastle. But if this was any normal game week, the only team we'd be taking any relevance from probably is Fulham. Things to look out for when you see this data from Rob T is 2 plus predicted goals and a 40+% clean sheet or anything close to it. So Fulham, Newcastle hit it in terms of clean sheets. In terms of goals, Fulham are the only team that really gets close to that 2-goal projection point. On free hit, bench João Pedro or Palmer. I probably would play Palmer over João Pedro just because he's on pens. Gibbs White or Gordon. Gibbs White's an interesting differential. Probably another one to talk about if you are on that strategy because they have some decent longer term fixtures. Game week 32, Forest host Villa. Game week 33, they host Burnley. Game week 34, they then travel to Sunderland. So Gibbs White could be an interesting differential to throw into the mix as well. The issue is if you go with the strategy where you don't wildcard, you're probably going to free hit 33, in which case you'd just be free hitting the week he has Burnley at home, which isn't as perfect for him. Worth using a sub on a player who doesn't have a fixture. Yep, I would use your transfers to get a full 11 out this week, unless you've already played your wild card. Then maybe it's more valuable to save it. How confident are you on Chelsea versus Everton? Well, not very. Both as a Chelsea fan and as an FPL manager, I think it will be low scoring and I think it will be cagey, but I do think both teams will probably score. Am I playing Last Fan Standing? I am. The deadline is 8 o'clock, I believe, for Last Fan Standing. We will do that after the deadline. I've got lots of things lined up after the deadline, so don't go anywhere. We won't be going anywhere. I also need to check my club lineup for this week as well. Lots to do after the deadline, so do stick around for it. Rice to Stack or Tav or Munoz to Anderson. Probably Anderson. Start Rodgers or Mbermo. I'll probably play Rodgers, just safety of minutes for him. What are my thoughts on Enzo for Wilson? You already have 3 transfers. I don't think the transfer is massively necessary, but if you've got 3 frees, Wilson is definitely better than Enzo, not only this week, but also going forward, I would say. Would I do Illiman and Dye to Wilson? I would consider it. If you've got more than a couple of transfers, then maybe. If you've got just one, I'm not sure it's massively worth using your only transfer to do it. Is a hit worth it to get 11? Wildcard 32 to buy a defender. I'm not sure defenders are massively worth it for a hit, so no. Richarlison, a very decent 1 week punt. His home form is all right. His goal threat per 90 is actually quite good. It's a big game and he got rested midweek. He's a huge differential. Yeah. Do I think Mukiele will play this game week or should I transfer for a hit? I wouldn't sell Mukiele for a hit. I would just play it. I don't think it's worth a -4 when he might play. Is Timber fit? Well, they don't have a game this week, but Timber is likely to feature in the Cup tomorrow. So yes, if it impacts whether you're going to sell him or not, yeah, he probably is going to be back for game week 32. Fulham have only kept 6 clean sheets. Don't get the obsession with Anderson by FPL content creators. It's just a good feature this week. He hits DEFCON very reliably. His DEFCON numbers are pretty good, like 12 here. He's hit DEFCON in his last 3 starts, which is an extra 6 points, which is an extra clean sheet and a half in the last 3. So DEFCON is a huge part of picking defenders now. Do I think Tarkowski starts? Probably, which is why I'm going to keep him. I don't think it's guaranteed though, which is why I have considered doing Richards out to Diouf of West Ham or potentially Calvin Bassey of Fulham. So someone has just atted me in a tweet from a Manchester United account that wrote a tweet about Mbermo, but it's just copy and pasted my tweet. He's literally copied it word for word. Not quite word for word, but he's literally changed like 2 words in the tweet. Anyway, Cash or Richarlison to complete the 11 or the other. I'd rather Richarlison than Cash this week. Van Dijk or Malik Chow. Van Dijk long term. If you're going to wildcard 32, then Chow. Harry, why are you sitting on transfers? You're going to wait and use them in game week 39. I'm going to use them in game week 38. I'm going to roll all my transfers. I'm going to have 11 transfers in game week 38, and I'm going to buy Mo Salah for his last ever game. I'm going to buy triple Wolves against Burnley, and I'm going to buy triple triple Everton as they relegate Spurs, and triple Forest and triple West Ham as they both win to stay up on the final day. And City lose to Villa, and Arsenal lose to Palace. Are we starting and captaining Haaland? I don't have it in me to do the captain. But we are almost at the deadline, so I can almost put my subs back into the team. What about Frimpong for attacking returns? I don't think he's nailed. I'm drinking blackcurrant squash along with a cup of tea. I can't see any early team news. If anyone sees anything on Twitter and wants to tag me in it, then please do. If there's not, and people are saying stuff in the chat and you haven't tagged me in on Twitter, I'm just going to presume that you are deliberately trying to, make it up. Squash with tea, what a combo. Well, normally I have my cup of tea first and then I drink my squash, but now I've just got both of them. Mix and match. Do I drink more squash than water? Well, it's just a little bit and then I add water. Like, it's not juice, it's squash. So I do drink a lot of water, but it gets me drinking more fluids than I would do. Right. We are, 5 minutes to go until the deadline. If I had Alderete, would I start him over Tarkowski? Yes, probably, just to take the minutes. Yeah, I know my team's not saved. I appreciate that, but I know it is not saved. We're going to put the subs back in a moment. Your defense is Cash, Anderson, Tarkowski, Richards to Calvin Bassey. I would just play Tarkowski, I think. João Pedro for Haaland. Yeah, if you need an extra player this week, selling Haaland is fine. There's lots of questions about what I'm drinking this week, but we're going to talk about squash and last fan standing, fantasy challenge. We'll do all of it after the deadline. We are 5 minutes away from the deadline, so stick around if you want to talk about all of that after the deadline. Ekitike start, yes. Why am I not considering Malik Chow? He just very much forces me into a one chip strategy, which I don't really particularly want to do. Rodgers or Mbermo, probably Rodgers, just safety of minutes. Best midfielder under 7 million is probably Harry Wilson. If not, Szoboszlai. Pick 3 to start. Rodon, Van Dijk, Hill and Tarkowski. Just don't start Tarkowski, the one with the biggest minutes risk out of all of them. Not going against Bruno captain. I don't think so. Yeah, Bruno cap for me, I think. Yeah, Bruno cap. Play Creepy or transfer him. I would just play him unless you've got loads of money to get up to someone really good like a Bowen or an Ekitike. Probably would just play him though. Sell Haaland to upgrade Creepy. Depends what those couple of transfers are. I'm not completely against it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's worth it. Depends what it means for the rest of your starting 11. Bench 1, Mbermo, Ekitike, Bowen. Probably Mbermo, just having the least likely minutes potential out of all of those options. Bench Senesi, Rodon, Van Dijk, or Enzo. Probably Enzo. Enzo or Senesi. Probably Enzo, because Senesi should hit DEFCON. Right, we've got 2.5 minutes to go. I'm going to put the players back in on my bench. They will be auto-subbed in, but it is a blank game week, and it is a tradition to bench players with a fixture so that they got auto-subbed in. So I will get Thiago, Ekitike, and Brian Mbermo in off my bench for Gabriel, Richards, and Erling Haaland. You've got 2 free transfers and a full 11. Is it worth Keane for Cash or Malik Chow? I probably would just play Keane. I think he starts. Bench Mbermo or Mukiele. I'd play Mbermo with Mukiele on the bench. Definitely. You guys are chasing and you have Wilson. Should I cap Wilson? I think Wilson is a great captain. I think he'll be about 80%, 90% owned. So I don't think you'll gain very much from Wilson if you don't captain him. But then you're going massively against Bruno if you do captain Wilson. I think if you're chasing, I really would consider going with Wilson captain. Of course, there is a risk because you are still going against the most highly owned captain in the game in Bruno. But I do like Wilson this week. Would I buy Gordon if you didn't have the wild card? I do my best to roll as much as possible. If I didn't have the wild card, I still like Gordon, but it might be that you decide to free hit 33, so you don't want Gordon. So yeah, no, nothing that I can see from Twitter on at the moment. Yeah, nothing. Mavropanos, the only thing about the West Ham centre-backs is they're going to play probably a back four again, which means Disasi, Mavropanos and Todibo, one of them's likely to drop out. So that's why Diouf is safer at left back. Wan-Bissaka should also play at right back though. To field 11, you should take a hit and bring in a defender for 1 week. I wouldn't take a hit to field an extra defender unless it's Anderson, Malik Chow and maybe Virgil van Dijk, as he's useful long term. You only have 11 players, transfer out Krupi or roll. Only if you've got loads of money to go up to someone like an Ekitike or a Jared Bowen. Who do I get Haaland for if you have Ekitike and João Pedro? Maybe Bowen or Thiago. Please, Harry, 3 free transfers on all chips left. You have 11 players at the moment. Should I spend 1 to get Wilson and bench Estev? Probably. I think Wilson is worth a transfer over Estev. Yes. Mavropanos isn't dropping out, then it probably is... Sorry, Oscar just texted me saying, apparently you've benched Mbeumo. Yeah, that's because I've got... Someone is trolling Oscar. Yeah, I will leave him to... I'll reply to him after the stream. When to use the triple captain? Probably after game week 35. We might get another double. Captain Bruno or João Pedro. Bruno for me. That is going to be the final minute. One final question. Do I think Keane will play? Yes, I do think Keane will probably start. The chances are one of the others will miss out. But that is going to be, there were no leaks or anything. That is going to be a minute to the deadline. Please go and check your team. Go and make sure everything is as it should be. This is my team. I am benching my players and starting my players without a fixture, but that is going to be, it doesn't affect the game week rank until the game week is over. That is my team. Go and check your teams. You've got a few last seconds before the deadline. Transfer rolled up to 5. Let's just hope that James, Tarkowski and Brian Mbeumo both start. That is all. That is all. As if someone's gone from my chat into Oscar's chat to tell him that I am benching Mbeumo to try and make him scared. Sorry, just posting my team on Instagram. Jack, I understand the joke. Just after deadline is acceptable. Just before deadline is... Oh, you're running a risky game. You're running a risky game. Right. What were the things people wanted to talk about? First of all is squash. I was drinking blackcurrant squash and yeah. Does anyone else drink warm squash? Just me. Like, if you add squash, I don't normally, I haven't ever done it with others, but I would do it when I had Ribena when I was young. You make a Ribena and then you put boiling water in. It's quite nice. I would recommend having a bit of a try with hot squash. I would, because it's just quite a nice like hot drink. Like if it's cold outside and you want something warm, just try. See, hot Ribena is one of the highlights of winter. Warm squash. See, people in the chat agree. Those of you who are not having hot squash, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You need to see people who have Vimto. Try it. Just try it. But to be fair, it only really works with like, I wouldn't do it with orange or something like that. I would only do it with sort of a berry, Ribena, like blackcurrant type. But just give it a try. Just give it a try. Just give it a try. Yeah, it's just like a cup of tea, but, you know, something a little bit different. Yeah, warm Ribena was your childhood drink. Exactly, it was mine as well. People are saying it's nasty. People are saying it's weird. Hey, don't knock it till you've tried it. Don't knock it till you've tried it. See, everyone who's tried it loves it. Everyone who hasn't tried it thinks it's weird. There's no one in the chat who has tried it that thinks it's weird. There is not a single person. There's not a single person that thinks that has had it and thinks it's bad. The only people who are saying it's bad are the people who haven't had it. You have, it's bad. No. No. We're going to delete that comment. No. With lemon though. Well, you could do it, you know, hot water with a bit of lemon in is also fine. Right, a couple of other things. First thing is anyone playing Last Fan Standing? I can put the link in the chat. Here you go. Basically, it's a competition being run by the Premier League. It starts at 8 o'clock this evening, so you have until kickoff. You pick a team every week. If that team wins, you get through to the next round and you can't pick that team again. I am going Fulham at home to Burnley as my first pick this week. Fulham at home to Burnley is my week 1 pick. It is running between now and the end of the season. If you are still in after game week 38, you will be entered into a draw for some big, big prizes. Yeah. Who are you all picking? Yeah, who are you all picking if you're playing? That's the link. Let me put the link in the chat again. I think Fulham's the obvious one. So this is a new game being run by the Premier League. I really, really hope that they do it next year. I really hope they do it in full next year. But basically, you pick a team. If they win, yeah, it's like Survivor in the NFL. It's like Last Man Standing that we normally call it, but they're calling it Last Fan Standing, the Premier League branded one. If you win, you go through to the next round. If your team draws or loses, you get knocked out. Everyone who submits will be entered in, and if you're still in there at the end of game week 38, you'll be yeah, that's what you get. Gone for Villa. Someone in the chat. I mean, I don't know if there's Connor. You could have just tagged me in it, Connor, if it really does exist. And my DM should be open anyway for you to send it if you did have something, but oh no, they weren't open. Yeah, so I'm going Fulham for my pick. I don't know who I'll go next week. Let's try and get through 1 week first. Next up is Fancy Challenge 6+. So I already did my team. I was on the FPL show today. So Ramsdale in goal. Porro into defense. I then went loads of midfielders. So I went Bruno. I know I normally pick players who I don't own, which is what I do normally do. 1-3-1. We want Jared Bowen up front. We wanted... maybe I go Rodgers. Maybe I drop Bruno because I've got him in my team. Szoboszlai. And who was the other one? There was someone else that I just... total points. Where's chances created? Who was the other one I wanted? Is it there's creativity as well, right? I think I went stack. I'm going to captain Szoboszlai. That is it. I could also go Dango. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Good shout, Tom. I don't own him as well. Strictly only allowed to pick players I don't own in my FPL team or are not good for my rank. What if everyone in the Premier League draws or loses one week? Well, then it would be a pretty short-lived tournament. Save team. Anything else? That's about it. I haven't seen that FPL Physio's report on Ross's injury. I'll have a look later. But basically, please, if you learn anything from this channel ever, please no one make a transfer until the FA Cup is done. I know people will want to wildcard and will be certain that they're going to wildcard, but yeah. People are going to be certain they want to wildcard, but the FA Cup results will change chip strategy if they go a different way. So please do not do anything until we get... Do not do anything until we get after those FA Cup results. Switch your phone off. Delete the app for the next 2 weeks. Delete the app for the next 2 weeks. Your team looks really bad next week. Should I really wait? I mean, I still probably would. Last fan standing, if you want to get in, those are the links again. Basically, you pick a team, and if they win, you go through to the next round. You've got to pick a team who wins every week. If they draw or lose, you go out, and you cannot pick the same team twice. So next week onwards, I won't be able to pick Fulham if Fulham go on to win, and I do get 3. If they don't win, then I will be being knocked out. Team news will be out in 6 minutes. Oh, I do have another topic. I do have one more topic. I am having homemade pizza for dinner tonight. Favorite pizza toppings? Oh no, I've just... my mic. You tried hot Ribena and you thought it was weird. Pineapple as the first reply. Listen. Pineapple is massively underrated. A Hawaiian pizza has its place in this world, and it is not fair to hate on it. It's very refreshing pizza. Meat feast. Red onion. Goat's cheese. Interesting. Why did I put the blankers in my team? Just so that I can have, like, when you check your rank on like live FPL, what it does is it gives you a pre-auto sub rank. And it gives you a after auto sub rank. And one will be really bad and one will be really good. Well, one will be not as bad as the other, potentially. Um, 4 minutes to go. Pineapple pizza is a crime, by the way. It's absolutely not. People only believe that because that's what society has taught them to believe. showing your middle class credentials finding goat cheese. I just goat cheese on a pizza is something I'd never have. Where I'm having like pepperonis, and I bought a packet of ham. Went to the shop today and got the stuff, and I was like, oh, we always have just pepperoni and a bit of red onion maybe, because Holly likes it. But there was a packet of ham on offer, so I just bought that, and I'm going to chop that up small and make as close to a meat feast as I can. We've also got some leftover pasta sauce from last night, and I'm going to make that into a little dip for the crusts. I'm very excited. Very excited. I've also put I went on holiday a couple of weeks ago, and I went to this little like butcher shop turned restaurant. That had a little restaurant in the back that served like stews and stuff, and they were using these really cool like German beer mugs that are a bit like this but nicer. And I said they use them all over that where I was, and I was like, oh, where can I buy one of these? Like, I want one. And he was like, oh, if you ask nicely, I'll get you one. And I was like, all right. So we went and got it, and they just gave it to me. So that was very nice. That was a real highlight and a nice wholesome moment. Manchester United team will be out in 2 minutes, but yeah, I'm making homemade pizza tonight. I'm going to put some ham on it. I'm going to put some salami on it. I'm going to put some tomato, mozzarella, cheddar on it. Fried, and I'm going to watch Bournemouth Man United. Probably. I don't really know if I've ever had beef jerky very much. So Connor, who is saying that he is very sure that Mbeumo is benched. It's 1 minute to the team news. You can either in the chat write that you made it up before the lineup comes out, or I will. You might be getting blocked if it isn't true. So we'll have to see. If it isn't true. So this is your last. You've got 30 seconds to reply saying that you made it up. Or if it's not true. Don't like spamming fake team news in the chat. Let's see. Let's see the Man United team, shall we? He hasn't replied in the chat. And Mbeumo starts. Well, Connor. Well. Deary me. I promise Mbeumo bench. Please follow me if true. Deary me. Well. Chat. What are the consequences of this behavior, chat? I will let the chat decide. I'm going to let the chat decide about what we do here. Connor, you have been in here a while telling us that Brian Mbeumo is going to get benched. Trying to make me scared. Trying to make the chat scared. Well. Deary me. Enough is enough, Connor. Connor's not even in the chat. He's running scared. I gave him an opportunity to say that he'd made it up. I gave him his chance. He didn't take it. Dear. I gave him his opportunity and he didn't take it, and he stuck by it. Deary me. The chat want a ban. The chat want him blocked. Enough is enough. The last thing I'm going to do before... I haven't even checked the Bournemouth team. Oh, Krupi benched. Interesting. Groupie benched. Right, I'm going to put it down to the poll. And we're going to do the poll for winning it. What happens to Connor? Ban? No ban. You decide, chat. We'll leave the poll up for 1 minute. Well, the chat are not a fan of you, Connor. I appreciate you trying to lighten the mood with your Brian and Burmo benching, but the chat after 200 votes is heavily in favor of a ban. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Any final words? I'm not sure Connor's here anymore to know the outcome of his actions. Yeah, anyway, 1 sec, just before we wrap it up. There is an FPL channel who Oscar has just sent me, who is 40 subscribers away from reaching 500. So I'm going to drop the link to his channel. Yeah, I'm going to drop his link in the chat. If you could just go over and say hello and say that Harry Raid or whatever, if you could, that would be great. That is the link to his live stream there. Go and say hello, go and subscribe, go and get him to 500, go and say hi, they sent you. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. We'll be back on Monday morning with a video. Poor Connor, what a way to end the stream. What an evening. Thank you all very much. Good luck this week, and I will see you all very soon, and enjoy the break if I don't see you before then.